Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Language Arts Gallery. Today, we're going to continue talking about narrative writing, and I'm going to walk you through how to draft an effective closing in a memoir. And we're going to talk about 5 different strategies that you can employ in your own writing. So, for teachers who are interested in using this lesson in your classroom, you can follow the link in the video description, and that's got a link to my Teachers Pay Teachers store and to my creative writing course and to this particular lesson as well. To my students in Myanmar, if you are interested in getting this lesson, please do not purchase anything. Please just send me a message in Signal, and I will provide you with a copy of this lesson. So let's go ahead and let's get started talking about the 5 different strategies that you can use for an effective closing in your memoirs. So let's talk briefly about how closings in our narrative writing can be a little bit different than closings in our academic essays. So when we're writing a closing in an academic essay, remember, we want to signpost, we want to restate our thesis, and we want to restate our big ideas. Then we want to leave the audience with a strong final thought. In narrative writing, it's a little bit different. Very often our character or characters may have faced a problem, and we've got to bring that problem to some sort of resolution. Ultimately, what we want to do is we want to provide a sense of closure for our audience. So let's talk about the 5 strategies that we can use. The first is circling back to the beginning. We may choose to summarize the theme or focus on a common truth. We might have the character reflect on the events in the narrative. We may foreshadow future possibilities. What's next for this character? Or we may highlight some unanswered questions that still remain. And that can also point to future possibilities. So we're going to take a look at each of these strategies individually. But remember, the strategy that you select may depend on the strategy that you chose for your opening. So let's take a look at this first one, circling back to the beginning. Okay, so this is a really good strategy to use when you begin in a present moment before you flash back. And we talked about that in our introductory strategies video. So I'm going to go ahead and read this here. As I stood on the porch of my childhood home, I realized that the question I'd asked myself all those years ago, what does home really mean, had finally been answered. Home wasn't a place. It was the sense of belonging I'd found within myself. The search that began in this very spot had come full circle, leading me right back to where it all started, but with a new understanding. So we can see the author uses a lot of language here, coming full circle, leading me right back to where it all started. So they're circling back to that moment that they started the narrative with. Here, we're summarizing a theme or focusing on a common truth. In the end, what I've learned is that we're all just trying to make sense of our own stories, to find meaning in the chaos. Life isn't about having all the answers. It's about embracing the journey, the highs and the lows, with grace and gratitude. No matter where you come from or what you've been through, there's strength in vulnerability and power in sharing your truth. We're all connected by our shared humanity. So here the author is really imparting some wisdom on the audience. They're giving them a life lesson. And remember, when we teach a lesson in our writing, we're communicating a theme to our audience. So that's what this author is doing right here. Character reflection is something I love. It's a way to actually get your audience to see a theme or to learn a lesson, but learn it through the eyes of a character. Looking back, I see that every hardship, every challenge was a step towards becoming who I am today. The sleepless nights, the tearful goodbyes, the moments of doubt, they all shaped me. I'm no longer the person who began this journey, uncertain and afraid. I'm stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. The road was long and winding, but it led me to a place of peace and self-acceptance I never imagined possible. So here we can really get an idea of how this character's grown and what they've learned from the events in the narrative. Now, this is a very positive ending, and it doesn't always have to be that way. We've talked about that with narrative writing. Very often there are happy endings, and I think a lot of us like stories with happy endings, but very often the ending is not a happy one. Perhaps it's one where the character continues to struggle with some problem or some challenge, or maybe they get an ending that is not exactly what they were hoping for. So this is a great strategy to tie off a narrative. This is something else I like, and this is particularly valuable if you're writing a series of narrative stories, whether it's a series of short stories or novels. Foreshadowing future possibilities. It keeps your audience interested in what's to come next. As I pack my bags for yet another adventure, I can't help but smile. The uncertainty that once terrified me now excites me. Life's unpredictability has become my greatest teacher, and I'm eager to see where the next chapter takes me. This memoir is just one story in a life full of them. And while I don't know what's next, I'm ready to embrace it, knowing that I've been prepared for whatever comes. So I really love this. The main character is packing up. They're getting ready to go on another adventure. So I'm curious, what's going to happen on that next adventure? That could be another narrative that this author may choose to write about. And finally, unanswered questions that remain. Perhaps there's been some resolution, but not everything's been addressed. So as I close this chapter, I'm reminded that life is full of unfinished stories. There are still questions that linger, dreams yet to be realized, and challenges ahead that I can't foresee. But perhaps that's the beauty of it, knowing that the journey is ongoing, that each day offers a new beginning. I'm stepping into the unknown with open arms, embracing the uncertainty and trusting that somehow it will all make sense in the end. So you have an opportunity to practice this as I work through this resource. I've got several mentor texts that my students can work through in breakout rooms and questions to help them engage with the text. And we've also got graphic organizers that you can use to develop your own writing. And remember, we want to build on the writing that we've done in the previous weeks. So if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and comment on the video. And I will be back in our next YouTube video where we're going to talk about scenes and moments in narrative writing.